Chag Sameach. Good Pesach, everybody. We are so glad to be able to be with you tonight, even if it's only digitally. We hope that you will join with us and pause the service as necessary to conduct Seders in your own homes. We're delighted to send our temple members a little Passover package with special Seder cards. There are questions for family participation on every card and a QR code to follow along with blessings and music. You can use these cards to enhance and personalize your Seder experience and to add richness to your holiday. One of the many mitzvot of Passover is to see ourselves as having gone forth from slavery to freedom. And the journey is supposed to be personal. The rituals that we engage in are meant to bring home the message that this experience is something that happened to us, not just to our ancestors long ago. And the Hebrew word for Egypt, Mitzrayim, contains the Hebrew word meaning narrow, referring to Egypt as the narrow place. And likewise, Passover is a time that we can go forth from narrow places or the narrowness in our own lives. So, as we begin tonight's Seder, I invite you to take a moment and to consider the narrow places or events that you are emerging from on this Pesach. You can discuss this with someone sitting around your table with you or reach out to somebody by text or a phone call. And of course, you can always pause our service, taking time to discuss this. Tonight's Seder is about reminding us that we are all constantly on a journey from that which enslaves us and keeps us small and into the wilderness, and someday, we hope, onto the promised land. We begin our Seder as we kindle the holiday lights. As we light these candles, we welcome the glow of Passover into our homes. We pray that all those who are struggling and suffering in the world will find light in darkness. May our observance tonight help to ignite within us a greater commitment to those for whom freedom is still just a dream.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov. The word Seder means order, and our Seder follows 15 very specific steps. And so now a song to hear about them.
Kadesh, we drink the first cup. Kadesh, we drink the first cup. We wash our hands or chutz. We wash our hands or chutz. Karpas, we dip the vegetables. Karpas, we dip the vegetables. Break the matzah yachatz. Break the matzah yachatz. Magid, we tell the story. Magid, we tell the story. Rochza, we wash our hands some more. Rochza, we wash our hands some more. Motzi matzah, bless the matzah. Motzi matzah, bless the matzah. Dip the bitter herbs, maror. Dip the bitter herbs, maror. Korech, a yummy sandwich that we eat. Korech, a yummy sandwich that we eat. Shulchan orech, oh doesn't dinner sound so sweet? Shulchan orech, oh doesn't dinner sound so sweet? Tzafun the afikomen, tzafun the afikomen. Barech, we bless after the meal. Barech, we bless after the meal. Hallel, we offer praises. Hallel, we offer praises. Nirtzah, we finish our whole spiel. Nirtzah, we finish our whole spiel.
We begin with Kadesh. Kadesh, we drink the first cup.
Kadesh, we drink the first cup. This first step of our Seder starts with blessings said over our first cup of wine. So if you've not yet poured that first cup, now is the time to do so. this word kadesh, the first step of our Seder, means to make holy. What's interesting is that, of course, the day of Passover is holy all by itself. But it's interesting that we start the Seder with an instruction that we should make the day holy. That, of course, Passover retains its own intrinsic sanctity no matter what we do or say, but it's our participation, our memories, and our community that adds a special and vital layer of holiness to this night.
And so we join together in the festival Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'am, veromemanu mikol hashon, vekidshanu b'mitzvotav, vatiten lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava moadim lesimcha, chagim uzmanim lesason, et yom chag hamatzot hazeh, zman cherutenu, mikra kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim, ki vanu vacharta veotanu kidashta mikol hamim, umoadei kodshecha besimcha uvsason, hincha letanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim. L'chaim. And we continue with Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
So one of the things that makes Seder so special is that all of the symbols on our table not only connect us to the tradition, but connect us to our families and our traditions. And we often fill our Seder tables with these little meaningful hints that maybe only mean something to us, but fill us with a certain kind of warmth and joy and nostalgia. And so we thought we'd take a minute at each of our different Seder tables to share something with you that's unique on our table, that means something special to us. And then we will invite you to maybe pause and share with the people you're with or with someone you reach out to something special that is on either the Seder table you have tonight or the Seder tables of your memory.
So we begin with this Kiddush cup, which was my dad's Kiddush cup that he has given to me that lives in my house. It has a little W on it. I don't know if you can see it. The W for Warren. And just makes me think about growing up and having Seders together as a family, going to my grandmother's house, just holding that memory close.
This beautiful Seder plate belonged to Jeff's grandparents and was something that was always in their cabinet every time we would go to visit. And having just remembered her on the occasion of her second yahrzeit, it's especially meaningful this year as we use it so close to that day of remembrance and thinking of all the holidays shared together.
I wanted to share my family's Haroset tradition. So my mom used to love to make like 3 different kinds of Haroset every year. There would be like a Sephardic Haroset and a Moroccan Haroset. There are all these different Harosets. But one of them, she would hollow out oranges, and we would get orange juice for the whole week of Passover. And we would put the Haroset in orange, which makes for like a lovely display. But also there is a tradition that some folks have of putting an orange on their Seder plate, which is symbolic of the way that we include those in our community who are not traditionally or haven't historically been included in our community, like the GLBTQ community. And so this was a double duty way to store our Haroset, no mess, and also to put an orange on our Seder plate.
In our family, one of the most cherished parts of the holiday, and specifically getting ready for Seder night, is the horseradish. Every year in our family, my wife Julie makes homemade horseradish from raw horseradish root. And the smell that fills the kitchen as Seder night is getting closer and closer is so sharp and so pungent that it can be overwhelming. Sometimes we have to open the windows in the kitchen to let those fumes out. But I know that as Seder night gets closer every year, that smell, the bitterness in the air that tells me that the horseradish is being made is a symbol that Seder night is around the corner, and that bitterness will be accompanied by the sweetness of freedom and liberation and family.
So now we're going to invite you to pause for a moment and reflect on either the symbols that are on your table this evening, or we're all doing the best we can. Maybe they didn't make it on your table this evening, but you want to call them into presence. Share them with people who you're in the room with. Share them with someone you text. Share them in the chat. But what are the symbols that add extra meaning to your Seder table?
We wash our hands or chats.
We wash our hands or chats. This first hand washing is a reminder that our Seder is more than simply a festival holiday meal, but actually a ritual enactment that draws us close to our history. The card that we sent out for our chats from the packet talks about the beauty of water and about preparing for this moment. It's something lovely for you to consider when doing a Seder on your own or when reflecting on the elements of the Seder. I'll now wash on behalf of all of us.
Karpas, we dip the vegetables.
Karpas, we dip the vegetables.
Hi, everyone! It's time for Passover. Would you guys help me to make a Pesach salad? Okay, so our first ingredient is going to be parsley. Let's chop our parsley up, shall we? Put some parsley in the bowl. Toss it up so it's nice and full. Pack it up to take to school for Pesach. Miss Sarah, what should we add next?
Well, I really love croutons, so how about a Passover-friendly crouton, some matzah?
Ooh, I love that idea. Let's crush up our matzah. Put some matzah in the bowl. Toss it up so it's nice and full. Pack it up to take to school for Pesach. Miss Leslie, what else should we add?
Oh, well, there's so many things, but I would love some gefilte fish on top of my salad.
Let's do it.
Smelly in the belly got gefilte fish.
Put some gefilte fish in the bowl. Toss it up so it's nice and full. Pack it up to take to school for Pesach. Miss Judy, what else should we add?
Wow, how about we add some harosis to the bowl? My favorite.
Do it. So we've got some sticky haroset to put in. Put some haroset in the bowl. Toss it up so it's nice and full. Pack it up to take to school for Pesach. Miss Erica, what else does our Pesach salad need?
I'm thinking I'd like to have something a little sweet. How about some gummy bears?
Oh, I love gummy bears. Put some gummy bears in the bowl. Toss it up so it's nice and full. Pack it up to take to school for Pesach. And you know what? I think I want to add one other ingredient, friends. I think we need some hot horseradish to go with our sweet gummy bears and our
Smelly gefilte fish.
So let's chop up our horseradish. Put some horseradish in the bowl. Toss it up so it's nice and full. Pack it up to take to school for Pesach. Okay, what do you guys think? Should we taste it? Ooh! Very interesting flavors we came up with. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the gummy bears and the gefilte fish have that gelatin little thing going on.
Delicious.
Okay, everyone, do you have your parsley? Let's do the blessing over the karpas. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, B'rei Pari Ha'adamah. All right. Happy Passover.
Oh man, that water's salty.
Yes.
Break the matzah yachatz.
Break the matzah yachatz. So now we come to the breaking of the middle matzah. You have at your table maybe 3 matzot, and you take the middle one. You're going to break it in half, and half of it will be the afikomen, and we will restore these 2 halves later. And we say that the Pesach story begins in a broken world, amidst slavery and oppression. The sound of the breaking of the matzah sends us into that fractured existence, only to become whole again when we find the broken half, the afikomen, at the end of the Seder. This brokenness is not just a physical or political situation. In Hebrew, Egypt is called, as Rabbi Silk said, Mitzrayim, reminding us of the word sar, narrow. Thus, in Hasidic thought, Mitzrayim symbolizes the inner straits that trap our souls. Yet even here we can find a unique value, as the Hasidic saying teaches us there is nothing more whole than a broken heart. Or, as Leonard Cohen puts it,
Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in. Magid, we tell the story.
Magid, we tell the story.
Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot, mikol haleilot. Shebechol halelot anu ochlin hametz umatzah. Halayla hazeh kulo matzah. Halayla hazeh kulo matzah. Shebekol halelot anu aklin she'ar yirakot, she'ar yirakot. Halayla hazeh maror, maror. Halayla hazeh maror, maror. Shebechol halelot ein anu mafilin afilu pa'am echat, afilu pa'am echat. Halayla hazeh shetei be'amim. Halayla hazeh shetei be'amim.
Shebechol halelot anu ochlin ben yoshvin uvein mesubin, ben yoshvin uvein mesubin. Halayla hazeh kulanu mesubin. Halayla hazeh kulanu mesubin.
Come, children, gather around, and I shall tell you a story nearly as old as time itself. Well, 3,400 years old, to be precise.
The Jews were enslaved in Egypt for many, many years. and they had to do all these hard tasks and all this work, and they were treated very badly.
They worked hard all day, every day, in dangerous conditions, building cities, never spending time with their families, always being treated so badly. It just wasn't fair.
There was a mean man named Pharaoh.
Pharaoh was threatened by the very large number of Israelites and told his people that the Israelites are much too numerous for us.
The evil Pharaoh was so insecure, he thought the Hebrews would eventually outnumber his people. So he actually decreed that all Jewish boys should be killed. Now, as you know, most Jewish mothers would do just about anything to protect their children, and this was no different in ancient times. One Jewish mother in particular felt the only way to save her child was to give him away. So she wrapped him in a blanket, put him in a basket, and set him in the Nile River.
Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe in the river. She saw the basket, and when she opened it, she saw that it was a child. A beautiful baby boy was crying. She realized that he was a Jewish child, but she had compassion for the baby and resolved to take him home.
And that baby was Moses. Moses grew up in the palace as the son of the Pharaoh's daughter, and he was well educated and treated like an Egyptian prince.
But in reality, he was a mensch. He didn't like the way the Pharaoh was treating the slaves, and when he found out his true heritage, he ran away from Egypt, far, far away.
So he leaves, and what does he see, Amanda?
He sees a burning bush, and he thinks, like, wow, that's crazy, it's on fire and it's still alive. And he realizes that God is talking to him through this bush.
And God told him, you need to go and ask Pharaoh to make the Jews free and to stop treating them so badly.
I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt and heard their cries. I will bring them out of slavery from the Egyptians and bring them to a land flowing with milk and honey.
So Moses goes to Pharaoh and he says, Pharaoh, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, no.
Pharaoh, Pharaoh, what are you doing? What are you doing, Pharaoh, Pharaoh? Let my people go.
Moses went to Pharaoh and asked him to please set the Jews free, but Pharaoh refused. God was not happy that Pharaoh was unwilling to set the Jews free.
And so God told Moses to release the 10 plagues, some of them including the water turned to blood, or frogs, or locusts.
Water turned to blood. There were frogs, balls of hail, locusts, you name it, God sent it.
And the 10 plagues were blood, and then frogs, and then locusts, and then flies, and then cattle disease, and then boils, hail, lice, darkness, and the big one is death of the firstborn son for the Egyptians.
Finally, the 10th plague, the angel of death, would take the firstborn child. Well, the Hebrews were told to mark their homes with lamb's blood so the angel of death would pass over, which is exactly what happened.
The Jews did as God commanded them and waited for the day, and on the 15th day of Nisan, God released his rage. He killed the firstborn Egyptians, one in every family. Every father lost a son, and every mother her baby.
The final plague, death of the firstborn, Pharaoh finally decided to let the people go after much convincing.
Go out from Egypt and into your promised land. You are a free people, no longer subject to my command.
The Jews left Egypt with sacks on their backs and faith in their hearts.
But wait, first they didn't have time to bake bread for the journey, so they
made matzah.
They made matzah, which is a kind of cracker.
An unleavened bread.
Unleavened bread.
So the Israelites departed Egypt, and God went before them, guiding them with a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night. Then Pharaoh changed his mind. He was furious and angry with himself for letting the Israelites go. So he sent his army of chariots and horses after them to bring them back.
They got trapped at the Red Sea. God told Moses to slam his staff down into the sea, and so he did. The sea split, the sea split in two, and they walked they walked through the parted sea.
They walked across the sea and they sang Micha Mocha.
And then the Egyptians came and the sea went back to one.
And drowned them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recognizing the great miracle that had occurred, Moses and the Israelites sang a song of praise to God, and Miriam, Moses' eldest sister, and the women danced for joy.
The Jews were free.
The Jews rejoiced and celebrated. This is what we celebrate every Passover, the freedom of the Jews.
It is about triumph over a class system, social justice, faith, truth, and freedom.
Why do we celebrate Passover?
We celebrate Passover to celebrate the Jews' victory of escaping. And then they wandered in the desert for 40 years. Yay!
And
they all lived happily ever after.
Yep, Passover.
Happy Passover.
Now we take a drop of wine out of our cups for each of the 10 plagues. You can use your finger, you can use a piece of silverware. We mailed to our alumni these patented drop removers that say this plague is the worst. And you're going to take one drop as we say each of the 10 plagues.
We'll go through the plagues now one by one in Hebrew and in English. Dam, blood. Tzfardea, frogs. Kinim, lice. Arov, flies. Dever, livestock pestilence. Shechin, boils. Barad, hail. Arbe, locusts. Choshech, darkness. Makat b'korot, death of the firstborn. This custom of removing just a little bit of wine from our cups when we recite the 10 plagues is undertaken, it's thought, because we want to lessen our own joy and celebration when we are remembering the suffering that the Egyptians went through in order for us to win our freedom and our redemption from slavery. So this custom is a way of looking back at the suffering of the past, and this section of the Haggadah comes right next to a different, very familiar piece of the Haggadah, the recitation of Dayenu, which is sort of the mirror image of the 10 plagues in a way. It's a recitation of a chain, not of suffering, but a chain of redemptions, each one overlapping and overflowing the last. This evening, we'll be offering a contemporary interpretation of Dayenu, helping us think about the redemptions, the miracles, the hope, and the promise of our modern age. Tonight, we commit ourselves to keeping the chain of liberation intact. Step by step to freedom, we long for the final redemption that signals enduring freedom, Dayenu.
Let my people go, we implored Pharaoh 3,000 years ago, Dayenu.
Let my people go, the biblical prophets proclaimed, urging us toward the obligation of moral concern for those who are suffering. Dayenu.
Let my people go, insisted the social activists of our country, calling us to address racism, poverty, and militarism, to be a part of a great tradition calling on America to mend every flaw. Dayenu.
Let my people go, we commit ourselves today, resolving to challenge racism and anti-Semitism, violence and voter suppression, ecological devastation and economic freedom. Dayenu.
Let my people go. Let this Passover heal our wounds, and may it inspire deeper resolve to work for sustenance and freedom for all, for today and for all times. Dayenu. We now transition from the Magid, the storytelling part of the evening, back to the table. Rabban Gamliel used to say that whomever has not explained the significance of three things during the Seder has not fulfilled their obligation. These three things are Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. Point to the Pesach on your table. The Pesach is the Passover offering to God to remind ourselves that God passed over our ancestors' houses in Egypt, but saved our houses. Hold up a piece of matzah. Matzah, we eat this to remind ourselves that even before the dough of our ancestors had time to rise and become leaven, we were driven out of Egypt and could not delay. Maror. We eat this to remind ourselves that the Egyptians embittered our lives with hard labor and cruel bondage.
We will now hear a musical setting of these words, Bechol Dor Vador. In every generation, even today when we are blessed to live in freedom, each of us should feel as though we personally were freed from Egypt.
בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור, בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים. Can you picture yourself crossing through and wandering the desert? Can you feel the wind support you as you go? Do you hear the cries of those left behind, still hoping for tomorrow? Do you fear the mountain you still have to climb? בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים, 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 יצא ממצרים.
And now we raise the second cup of wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Rochta, we wash our hands some more.
Rochta, we wash our hands some more. As we near closer to the part of our Seder when we will enjoy the meal, we ready ourselves as did the priests at the time of the temple. We engage in a ritual hand washing to remind ourselves that this too is a holy thing, another opportunity to thank and praise God. I share with you a reading, Blessed are the works of your hands. Blessed are the works of your hands, O Holy One. Blessed be these hands that have touched life, that have nurtured creativity, that have held pain, that have embraced with passion, that have tended gardens. Blessed be these hands that have closed in anger, that have planted new seeds, that have harvested ripe fields, that have cleaned, washed, mopped, scrubbed. Blessed be these hands that have become knotty with age, that are wrinkled and scarred from doing justice, that have reached out and been received, that hold the promise of the future. Blessed be the work of your hands, O Holy One. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Motzi matzah, bless the matzah.
Motzi matzah, bless the matzah. So now is our opportunity to bless the matzah with two blessings. First, Hamotzi, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And now the blessing over the matzah itself. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah.
Dip the bitter herbs maror.
Dip the bitter herbs maror. As we prepare to taste those bitter herbs, we offer a reading which is found in the cards that we mailed home and also on your screen. I invite you to read these words with me. Words fail. The story of bitterness is the most difficult to tell, perhaps because it is not really a story after all. It is a taste in the mouth. The taste of sharp words, unspoken, dissolving on the tongue. The taste of swallowed anger, heartburn. It is useful to eat as big a chunk of these bitter herbs as one can bear. If there is hope, it lies in the tears that well up in the eyes and the clear-headedness that comes after. So we can take some maror on a piece of matzah, as big as you can handle. And we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror.
Not bad.
I've had worse.
Korech, a yummy sandwich that we eat.
Korech, a yummy sandwich that we eat. A sacred remembrance, a bond with the past. We keep the custom of Hillel from the days when the temple existed. Hillel would combine matzah and maror with the Pesach offering. Then, in fulfillment of ancient teachings, eat the symbols of our redemption together. As it is said, with unleavened bread and bitter herbs they shall eat it. So we are going to make our own Hillel sandwich by taking a little bit more of that maror and cutting it some with some of our charoset. And enjoying the sweet taste of Pesach.
Shulchan Orech, oh doesn't dinner sound so sweet?
Shulchan Orech, oh doesn't dinner sound so sweet? We've come to the festive meal. We invite you to pause for as long as you need to enjoy your meal, and we'll be back in a few.
Let's all go to the Seder.
Welcome back. We hope you had a delicious dinner, and now it's time to continue on with our Seder. Tzafun zi afikomen.
Tzafun zi afikomen.
So it's a little bit hard to figure out how we can hide an afikomen in all of your houses. And after planning that for months, we just gave up and we decided that we would share with you a little bit of how we play the game of finding the afikomen.
Well, another clergy board game Zoom night is coming to a close.
I have to say, that one was particularly fun.
Yeah, I'll admit, Rabbi Fixler, when you said you'd invented an Emmanuel and Passover-themed version of the game Clue, I was skeptical, but it was actually really fun.
Oh, thanks, guys. I'm just sad none of you liked my name for it. Afi Kluman.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it that. But it's great.
Well, thanks. Okay, now it's time for everyone to make their final accusations. Who, where, and near what is the afikomen? It's somewhere around the synagogue. Where could it be? Let's hear your guesses.
Well, I'm sure that I have this one right. I think the afikomen is with Jason Plotkin in the Proler Chapel near the Ark.
Really? I am absolutely positive it is with Christian Simmons in the rotunda near the welcome desk.
I'm sorry. You are both wrong. I'm certain the afikomen is with Jerry Emerson in the Bear Sanctuary near the candlesticks.
Guys, you don't understand this game at all. It is obvious that the Afi Kluman...
I'm not going to say it.
...is with David Lambden in the Sisterhood gift shop near the Seder plates.
Well, we can't all be right.
I know I'm right. What is in the secret envelope?
Yeah, this is getting annoying. Just tell us who won.
So just to review, the choices are Jason in the chapel near the Ark, Christian in the rotunda near the welcome desk, Jerry in the sanctuary near the candlesticks, and David in the Sisterhood gift shop near the Seder plates. Okay, it's time for everyone to make their guesses.
We already made our guesses.
Not you, the people out there. Did you make your guesses yet?
What are you talking about?
Wait. Never mind. I'm just so used to having our Zooms broadcast to the world. Okay, sorry. Now is the moment of truth. We find out who done it. The afikomen is in the chapel with Jason near the Ark.
Yes! I knew it!
Wait, that doesn't make any sense. I was sure I was right. Unless...
Okay, now is the moment of truth. We find out who done it. The afikomen was in all of those places.
What?
Or perhaps... Okay, now is the moment of truth. We find out who done it. The afikomen was in this envelope all along. And that is how you play Afi Kluman.
Fixler!
Baruch, we bless after the meal.
Baruch, we bless after the meal. Now that our meal is concluded, we take just a moment to express our gratitude to God for the food that has filled us on this evening, and we offer that thankfulness with this short blessing. Baruch atah Adonai hazan et hakol. We praise you, Adonai, who feeds and sustains us all. Amen.
Amen. And now it's time for the third cup of wine. So hope everyone has poured their third cup, or if you need to pause to pour. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
Now the Seder focuses on hope for the future, redemption symbolized by Elijah the prophet, bearer of good news. In Egypt, the doors of the house were shut tight on the night of the 10th plague. Blood marked the lintels and doorposts where we now place the mezuzah. However, in contemporary Seder, the doors are open wide in expectation. There is no longer a night of terror, but the dawn of hope. It is, as the Torah calls it, a night of watching and expectation of great changes for the better. We sing together Eliyahu Hanavi as we open the door and welcome Elijah to our Seder.
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimira Beyameinu, Yavo Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. Nirtzah, we finish our whole spiel.
Nirtzah, we finish our whole spiel. The Seder traditionally concludes with the statement, next year in Jerusalem. The name Yerushalayim contains the root for peace and wholeness. This year we assert that next year we will celebrate Passover in a place of peace and wholeness. Tonight we celebrate where we are in this moment, the peace and wholeness that is already in us, the liberation that we have already reached. And paradoxically, we acknowledge that our journey continues, that in the coming year we continue our travels towards greater wholeness, truer liberation, deeper peace. Next year in Jerusalem, next year in peace, next year in wholeness.
We have finally reached the 4th cup of wine. So you take a moment to pour your wine and we join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen lechayim.
Chaim.
Well, friends, with this 4th cup, we come now to the end of our Seder, the end of this long and winding journey that we've shared from bondage to freedom, from slavery to liberation. And it's been a winding and complicated road that we've shared, not just on this evening Seder night in truth, but during this whole year from last Pesach to this one. And so as this Seder concludes, we take just a moment to turn our gaze forward, to look ahead at the year to come, to imagine that the next year that we will share together will lead us to greater liberation and brighter redemption in the year ahead.
Leshana haba, Leshana haba, Leshana haba, Yerushalayim. Leshana haba, Leshana haba, Leshana haba, Yerushalayim. Leshana haba, Leshana Yerushalayim. Leshana
Thank you for sharing your Seder night with us. Chag Sameach.